Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling a story that uh, you might have seen flash across the headlines, but we're going to do what we do best, dive deeper.
Right.
We're talking about the recent withdrawal of Dr. Dave Weldon's nomination to lead the CDC.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. CDC director, does that impact my daily life? But trust me, this story has some twists and turns that highlight the crucial intersection of politics, science, and public health.
For sure.
Our primary source is a WBUR article from today, March 13th, 2025. And let me tell you, it raises some important questions.
Yeah, what I find particularly interesting here is that this isn't just about one person's nomination. This situation really throws into sharp relief the challenges of leadership in a field as sensitive and critical as public health.
Right.
Especially in an era where misinformation can spread like wildfire.
Okay, so let's break this down. First, who is Dr. Dave Weldon? The guy has a resume that can make even the most accomplished person blush. Doctor, Army veteran, former congressman, even threw his hat in the ring for U.S. Senate at one point.
Wow.
It's like he's collected experiences like some people collect stamps.
And that's where the intrigue starts. While a diverse background can be valuable, the question becomes, how does all of that experience translate to leading the CDC? This isn't just any organization. It's a massive institution with global reach requiring a unique blend of scientific expertise, leadership skills, and political savvy.
So we have this picture of a man with a wide-ranging background,
Mm-hmm.
and then boom, the nomination is withdrawn just before his confirmation hearing. What happened?
Well, the official word from the White House was a lack of Senate votes needed for confirmation.
Okay.
But reading between the lines, that suggests there was some serious opposition brewing behind the scenes. And digging deeper, we uncovered the root of that opposition, Dr. Weldon's views on vaccines.
Ah, yes. Let's get to the heart of the matter. His past statements on vaccines have stirred up quite the controversy. He's made claims linking vaccines to autism and mercury poisoning, claims that have been debunked by the scientific community.
Right, and that's where the real concern lies. These aren't just abstract opinions. They touch on a core function of the CDC promoting vaccination and combating misinformation.
Wow.
Senator Patty Murray, a Democrat on the Senate Health Committee, was particularly vocal in her opposition. She called his views dangerous and expressed serious concerns about someone with these stances leading the CDC, especially given the fragile public trust in vaccines we see today.
She didn't mince words. In her statement, she said, and I quote, "I was deeply disturbed to hear Dr. Weldon repeat debunked claims about vaccines. It's dangerous to put someone in charge at CDC who believes the lie that our rigorously tested childhood vaccine schedule is somehow exposing kids to toxic levels of mercury or causing autism." It seems like she saw this as a potential threat to public health.
And rightfully so. Senator Murray is raising a crucial point here. Having someone in this position who espouses these views could undermine the CDC's credibility and hinder their efforts to protect public health. Think about it. If people are already hesitant about vaccines, having the CDC director echoing these debunked claims could further erode trust and potentially lead to drops in vaccination rates. The implications are significant.
This is where I think it gets really interesting for our listeners. This isn't just about politics. It's about how scientific consensus and leadership intersect with our personal health decisions. What this situation forces us to think about is how much weight should personal views hold when we're talking about someone leading an organization that impacts the health of millions? What do you think?
That's a crucial question. It brings us to a larger discussion about the qualities and expertise we prioritize in public health leadership. And it highlights the responsibility we all have to be informed about these issues and engage in these discussions. It's our health, after all, that's at stake.
Absolutely. And if you're finding this deep dive as thought-provoking as we are, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our future episodes.
Good idea.
Now, getting back to Dr. Weldon, after his time in Congress, he went back to practicing medicine in Florida. But he didn't stop there. He also took on leadership roles with Privia Quality Network Central Florida, a company that supports physician practices, and became the board chairman for the Israel Allies Foundation. It's fascinating to consider how those roles might have shaped his approach to healthcare and public health in general. His work with Privia suggests an understanding of the complexities of the healthcare system, while his involvement with the Israel Allies Foundation hints at an interest in international affairs.
Yeah.
So we have this multifaceted picture of Dr. Weldon, his background, his controversial views, the opposition he faced, and ultimately the withdrawal of his nomination. It's a lot to unpack.
It really is, and I think it underscores the importance of scrutinizing not just a nominee's professional experience, but also their views on critical issues that directly relate to the position they're seeking.
Right, and that leads us to the bigger picture here. This episode isn't just about dissecting one man's nomination, it's about understanding the weight of the CDC director's role. What does this position actually entail, and why is it so important, especially in today's world? That's something we'll delve into further in the next part of our deep dive.
Well, the CDC director is essentially the nation's top doctor. They're responsible for guiding the agency's efforts to protect Americans from health threats, whether it's a new pandemic, a foodborne outbreak, or chronic diseases like heart disease and cancer.
Right.
They're the ones making the calls on everything from vaccine recommendations to public health emergency responses.
So it's a high-stakes job with huge responsibility. We've seen how crucial that role is, especially in recent years with the pandemic.
Yeah.
What kind of expertise does someone need to effectively lead an organization as complex as the CDC?
It's not just about being a brilliant scientist or a skilled administrator. It's about having a deep understanding of how all the pieces fit together.
Right.
You need someone who can translate complex scientific data into actionable policies, someone who can build consensus among diverse stakeholders, and someone who can communicate effectively with the public, especially when it comes to sensitive issues like vaccines.
And in today's world, with the rise of social media and the spread of misinformation, that communication piece seems more challenging than ever.
Absolutely. The CDC director needs to be a master communicator who can cut through the noise and build trust with the public.
Right.
They need to be able to explain complex scientific concepts in a way that's understandable and relatable, and they need to be able to address concerns and counter misinformation without alienating people.
It sounds like we're looking for a unicorn, someone with the scientific rigor of a Nobel laureate, the communication skills of a seasoned talk show host, and the political savvy of, well, a successful politician.
You're not wrong. Finding the right person for this job is no easy feat, and this whole situation with Dr. Weldon's nomination really highlights the importance of the vetting process. We need to make sure that whoever is nominated for this position has the necessary experience, qualifications, and a commitment to evidence-based decision-making.
And this brings up another interesting point, the role of public scrutiny in the nomination process.
Yeah.
We saw how Senator Murray and others raised concerns about Dr. Weldon's views, and ultimately that public pressure played a role in his withdrawal. It shows that we as citizens have a voice and a responsibility to hold our leaders accountable.
Exactly. Public engagement is crucial, especially when it comes to appointments that have such a significant impact on our health and well-being.
Right.
We need to stay informed, ask questions, and make our voices heard.
This whole conversation is really making me think about how we as a society view science and expertise. In a world where everyone has access to a fire hose of information, it can be difficult to discern fact from fiction. How do we navigate this landscape and ensure that sound science informs public health policy?
That's a question that keeps a lot of people up at night, including me. I think it starts with education and critical thinking. We need to equip ourselves with the tools to evaluate information, identify bias, and understand the scientific process. And we need to support institutions like the CDC that are committed to using evidence to guide their decisions.
We also need to be aware of our own biases and be open to changing our minds when presented with new evidence. It's easy to fall into echo chambers and surround ourselves with information that confirms our existing beliefs. But real learning happens when we're willing to challenge those beliefs and consider different perspectives.
You're absolutely right, and that's where dialogue and respectful debate come in. We need to create spaces where we can have these difficult conversations, where we can listen to each other, share our perspectives, and learn from one another.
And if you're enjoying this deep dive into the world of public health and the complexities of scientific leadership, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more insightful discussions. Now, back to the CDC director position. With Dr. Weldon out of the running, the search continues. What qualities and stances should we, as a society, prioritize when considering candidates for this crucial role?
I think there are a few key things to look for. First and foremost, we need someone with a strong scientific background and a deep understanding of public health principles. This person needs to be grounded in evidence-based decision-making and be able to interpret and apply scientific research to real-world problems.
So a solid foundation in science is non-negotiable. But beyond that, what other qualities are essential for this role?
Well, as we've discussed, communication is paramount. The CDC director needs to be able to articulate complex ideas clearly and concisely, both to the public and to policymakers. They need to be able to build trust and rapport, and they need to be able to inspire confidence in the face of uncertainty and fear.
It's a tall order, but clearly essential. What about leadership style? Does that play a role in how effective a CDC director can be?
Absolutely. Leading an organization as large and complex as the CDC requires exceptional leadership skills.
Right.
You need someone who can motivate and inspire a diverse workforce, someone who can build consensus and collaborate effectively, and someone who can make tough decisions under pressure.
And navigating the political landscape is another crucial aspect of this job. The CDC director needs to be able to work effectively with both sides of the aisle, advocate for public health priorities, and secure funding and resources.
You're hitting all the key points. It's a delicate balancing act, and it requires someone who is both politically astute and unwavering in their commitment to public health.
So it's not just about finding a brilliant scientist or a charismatic leader. It's about finding someone who embodies a unique combination of skills and qualities. It's about finding someone who can be a trusted voice, a strong advocate, and a steady hand at the helm of one of the most important public health institutions in the world.
You've summed it up perfectly. And as we move forward in this search for a new CDC director, it's important that we as citizens engage in this conversation, ask the tough questions, and demand transparency and accountability from those who seek to lead this vital agency.
This is where we, the informed public, play a crucial role. We need to hold our leaders accountable, stay engaged in the issues, and continue to learn and grow in our understanding of science and public health.
Couldn't agree more. It's a collective effort, and we all have a stake in the outcome.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, let's turn our attention to the broader implications of this situation. What lessons can we learn from the Dr. Weldon nomination, and how can we apply those lessons to ensure that future appointments to crucial positions, like the CDC director, are made with the utmost care and consideration for public health? That's something we'll explore further in the final part of our deep dive. This whole situation with Dr. Weldon's nomination, it really shines a light on something we don't often talk about: the intersection of politics, public perception, and science, particularly when it comes to public health.
Oh, absolutely. We often think of science as this objective, apolitical force.
Right.
But in reality, the way scientific findings are interpreted, communicated, and translated into policy can be heavily influenced by political ideologies and public sentiment.
When it comes to something like vaccines, where emotions run high and misinformation is rampant, navigating those complexities becomes even more challenging.
Exactly. And we see this play out not just in the U.S., but globally. The role of public trust in institutions like the CDC is absolutely paramount, and when that trust is eroded, it can have serious repercussions for public health outcomes.
So what can we do about it? How do we rebuild that trust, especially in an era where information and misinformation spread so quickly?
Well, I think that it starts with transparency and open communication.
Yeah.
Public health officials need to be upfront about the challenges they face, the uncertainties that exist, and the rationale behind their decisions. They need to be willing to engage with the public, answer questions honestly, and address concerns with empathy and respect.
And it's not just about what they say, it's about how they say it. In today's world where people are bombarded with information from all sides, effective communication needs to be clear, concise, and relatable.
You're spot on. We need to move away from jargon-filled pronouncements and embrace a more human-centered approach to communication.
Right.
Storytelling, visual aids, and social media can all be powerful tools for connecting with people and conveying complex information in a way that resonates.
It sounds like we need a public health marketing campaign almost.
In a way, yes. We need to be as strategic and savvy in promoting public health as companies are in promoting their products. And that requires understanding our audience, tailoring our message, and meeting people where they are.
This brings up an interesting point: the role of media in shaping public perception of science and health.
Yeah.
We've seen how media coverage can both amplify and distort scientific findings, sometimes creating unnecessary fear or skepticism.
The media plays a powerful role, and it's crucial that journalists and reporters approach these topics with responsibility and accuracy. We need more nuanced reporting that goes beyond sensational headlines and provides context, explains the limitations of research, and highlights the consensus within the scientific community.
And as consumers of information, we also have a responsibility to be critical thinkers, to question what we read and hear, and to seek out information from reliable sources.
Absolutely. We need to be aware of our own biases, be open to challenging our own beliefs, and be willing to change our minds when presented with credible evidence.
So it's this multifaceted challenge that requires a multi-pronged approach. We need transparent and effective communication from public health officials, responsible reporting from the media, and an informed and engaged public that's willing to do the work of critical thinking and discernment.
Well said. It's a collective effort, and it's essential that we work together to ensure that sound science guides public health policy and protects the well-being of our communities.
And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of the CDC, scientific leadership, and the complexities of public health in a world awash in information.
It's been a fascinating discussion, and I hope our listeners have found it insightful and thought-provoking.
If you've enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more in-depth explorations of the topics that matter. And as always, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep engaging in the conversations that shape our world.
Thanks for joining us.